Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another morning of Roadhouse Last Call. Joining us again today, we have Bender and Mr. Stockington. Morning. Good morning. Yes. Bender.
Good morning.
Anything exciting happened yesterday?
Not really. I moved trees around with a skid steer, and a grapple, and while it is effective, I will say this: I rented that dozer that I told you about that broke down a few times. I think it's 793 hours on it, which, for a freaking bulldozer is not a ton. It looked like a 10-year-old bowling shoe. Like, that's how bad it was. It just looked just ragged. It looked like a 20-year-old bowling shoe that you would find at Goodwill, and they might even turn it down. It was just beat to crap. So I had them swap it out for this skid steer and two attachments. I got a brush hog and a grapple, and it's a cab unit, right? So it has a full enclosed cab. And this thing looked just as bad as the dozer did. And you have to close the front of the cab to use the brush hog because it just throws stuff everywhere. Well, it's supposed to be air conditioned, and it's like the air comes out, but it's not. I wouldn't call it air conditioned. It's at such a slow pace that, it was 103 degrees yesterday, and I'm in this enclosed cab moving stuff, and you've got the heat of the motor, the engine, and everything else going on. I effectively spent like 4 or 5 hours in a hot box sauna, and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, which is not the right, because it's dirty and there's bugs, you get ate up and there's crap flying, and I had to keep one window cracked so I could breathe, and stuff's flying in the window, and it was just, oh my God, it was miserable. So I'm coming to the realization that, it might be a little cheaper to rent the equipment. It is cheaper to rent the equipment and do it yourself. It is not worth it. Not in the sun in Texas.
Yeah, I think I was going to get to that as you were going through that. But how about this? How about if you actually had the right tools that operated properly, that functioned properly, then maybe it wouldn't be that way.
Yeah, but the reason you rent them is because this stuff is so
Right, but do you feel like there's a conspiracy that they're giving you shit?
Oh, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing here.
You're gonna be like, man, and then the same company's gonna roll out with a brand new shiny dozer and little side skidder or skid steer and just knock it out, and you're gonna be like, well, why?
That's exactly what's gonna happen. And when I called the rental company about the broken dozer that I had, that I was very upset about, they're like, oh, well, we have a brand new one sitting right here. Like, we could drop that off. I'm like, well, why didn't you give me that one the first time?
Yeah, you see.
Because you have to get mad and call and yell before they'll do that.
Yeah, and nothing good anywhere. Not even on the ranch. Nothing good. I'd say nothing good also kind of summarizes where we are right now with the market reaction, with the headlines. Look, headlines are trash. We're all gonna dead. We're all gonna dead. All dead. That's basically what the headlines say. We got the reversal of the reversal that we talked about yesterday, pre-market. We talked about yesterday at close. Talked about yesterday on the report how the market will be like, oh, okay, and then overnight, as the Pink Polo Boys are playing Stink Finger, they decide, hey, whoa, and sell. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it, and I'm not getting into how crappy all these headlines are and how shit the data is that's coming out, because we can all see that with our own eyes, and there's no way to interpret it other than it's not good. So instead of doing that, I'll spend a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds here before we get into Bender's levels talking about what's going on. And the what's going on is anybody that's listening to this, anybody that's been following the market for the last several years, you are somewhat in the know. Let's say that you're somebody as being somebody in the know. You're somebody that will, spend the extra money, the extra time looking for a nice bistro or something like that, not super expensive. A nice bistro to sit down and have a nice meal. Okay, you're a connoisseur, if you will. Maybe not high level, but you have a palate, you have a taste. So we've seen this coming for a little while. We've seen the warning signs. We've seen the price action. We have seen all of that. The bistro eaters, us. What we're getting now with these headlines, now they're trying to explain it to the Taco Bell and McDonald's, CC Pizza type individuals that have no palate, that don't know what's going on, that wouldn't know a good meal if it hit them right in the face. Explaining to them that we all dead. Okay, that's what they're doing now. That's what these headlines are. That's what the price action is about. If you listen to Powell yesterday, he was not shy about saying, even equities coming down. It's like that's going to help curb demand, demand destruction. It's like when you use terms like demand destruction and you use curves like, we want to curtail spending, we want to do all that kind of stuff. That's just a different way from saying we want to absolutely break the backs and the souls of every consumer on the planet. And they're just now starting to break the news to everybody that, hey, we're going to break your ass. That's what they're doing. That's what the headlines are. That's what all of this is about. What we already know, they are just now starting to break it to the general public. That's why we're seeing it more on CNN. Well, what are the headlines? Oh, sharp increases should be expected in credit cards, housing, as far as interest rates, auto loans, blah, blah, blah. You borrow money, you're taking it in the butt. That's what the headlines driving mainstream media are right now. So while we're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, us having an expectation that it's going to get better in the very, very near term, we need to temper those expectations because the general public is just, the fast food eaters are just now figuring out that they did, Fred. They're just now coming to that conclusion. And the media is just now letting them know, as opposed to letting them know in August after Jackson Hole that this is coming, as opposed to letting them know back at the first mention of QT, as opposed to letting them know all the way up and down the line. They are just now informing everybody that we all did, Fred. So with that being said, even getting into flow and looking at it, we saw some big puts close yesterday, and then after hours, they came right back and they lopped them back on. Overall, from a flow standpoint, once again, the only real flow that we saw that was like, wow, no, that's pretty good, is FacePage, aka Meta, aka Murderverse. That one, they were buying all the way out to 2024. Yay. That's what we got. That's what we're looking at. That's the picture. So how do we adjust and we play? We try to be as nimble as we possibly can. And this is where Bender and his levels are so important. Those levels were very helpful yesterday, and I'm sure they're going to be helpful once again. With all that being said, Mr. Bender, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so we broke those trend lines that we've been talking about, for a couple of days, these parallel channels. They acted as areas of reaction, which is what we look for, right? We try to find areas when we say support or resistance or lines above, lines below. We're really looking for, and I think this is important to keep in mind. We're not saying, oh, it's going to hold here, or this is, it's going to reject here. What we're saying is, we're expecting a reaction in price, and then let it figure it out and decide what it's going to do. Maybe it bounces, maybe it doesn't, right? And that's what we're looking for. So those trend lines gave us those reactions. You could have played bounces, as those levels break and it comes back up to retest, you could play that rejection. So we did get the reactions at those levels, but we have broken them. We are now out of some pretty important trend lines. Now, this may be a scenario where they like to overshoot those and stop out as many people as they can. Maybe that happens, maybe not. I don't know. But what I will say is, in order to really make this not look like we're going to test, let's say 3,500 in the very near future, we've got to get back. We've got to reclaim 3,770. So we're at 3,715 right now. And those trend lines that we broke, to get back above those, and they're wedged pretty close together, but to get back above those, we've got to be like above 3,770. Above that, we've got 3,800, just that whole number, then 3,810 and 3,833, which was one of the lines I gave out yesterday. Below,
I don't want to interrupt, but it's like that 38, 33. It's like, it's funny how some of these lines completely correlate to different levels, because that would be the 50 on the quarterly. Like, if you really want to start stretching things out, it's like you're starting to see like some real continuity on different indicators as far as these lines that Bender is putting out there, which is fairly remarkable. But
and that also is you've got the 5 MA on the daily is in that zone just above. But yeah, they if you understand how those EMAs and MAs are calculated, then it makes sense that they line up on different time frames, using different values. A 10 on one would match up with a 200 on another, depending on the time frame. So it absolutely makes sense. Okay, so I gave you the levels above. We need to reclaim 3,770, and then we still have that gap up there, that who knows when that comes into play, but, eventually. And then below, so we're sitting at 3,720 now. So obviously we look at that whole number of 3,700. I think if we give up 3,690, I think we start, honestly, as far as major levels go, important, levels, I'd have my sights set on, so at 3685, and then honestly below that you're looking at like, somewhere in the 3580, 3590 range. So 3770, we need to get above that, and around 3686 I think is that's, we don't want to see, if you're only playing the long side, you don't want to see that give. You want to see it hold that 3686.
Well, it's
right
not
in
only
there.
if you're only playing the long side. If you don't want your parents to move in with you,
Right.
you really want to see some of these levels start to hold.
And on the flip side, if we give that up, look for a bounce and a retest and rejection, and play downside there.
Yeah, and I don't know, Bender. It's like I'm sitting here looking at these levels and these lines, and the overnight they smashed they broke it again. They made it to where there's no structure to be found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's just nothing. It's like anything that we had been looking to kind of build out is gone. As far as if you're looking at the daily and even the weekly, it's just you're not seeing anything there. And when you have to start stretching out to a quarterly chart to find something to where it's like, oh, okay, we could stop being murdered here. That's that means you're getting desperate as all bloody hell. That's what that means. It's like when you're really having, at least for somebody like me, when you're having to really, really push out and find an expanded level to or expanded time frame, it's just like, man, this is just not good. And the tone continues to be the same. I think that if there's anything that we're going to take out of this is the pressure will continue to be the downside until we can wake up and out of, let's say, 20 headlines that are hitting the various publications, at least two of them are positive, have a positive tone to them, as opposed to all 20 being about as negative can possibly be. It's like that sentiment has not impacted, like the sentiment that a lot of people feel if they're looking at their portfolios that actively trade, actively invest, the portfolios of people that are in crypto, those people that like know the pain. Right now, the ones that have no real understanding of it, they're the ones that are feeling it at the pump, at the grocery store, and whatever little savings that they had that they may or may not have in the market. To where you had somebody, let's say, it's like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put $1,000 into Bitcoin. Now that $1,000 is probably trading right about, anywhere between 400 and 600. Like it may not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but to the listeners, but it's like that's impactful. It's impactful, and especially if that $1,000 at one point was like 1,500. Now again, that 1,500 is now 6. It's like that's again very, very impactful to people's ability to spend, to save, and to certainly not flourish. It's like this environment is not meant for people to flourish. Especially again, let's go back again to what the Fed is wanting to do to create demand destruction on the backs of the U.S. citizen. That's their plan. We can say a lot of different things, but he says it every time he speaks. And if we're taking the concept of don't fight the Fed's mission right now is to destroy the American citizen. That's their mission. That's their goal. They have said it. Now we can say, oh no, it's a sop up liquidity. Oh no, it's to do this or that. No. Sorry. It's like calling somebody, oh, they're big boned. They're just a little bit overweight. It just is, no, it's like basically say, no, you're a bunch of fat fucks that are obese and are going to die of heart disease. That's same thing, same messaging, just let's pick the right words to describe the scenario. So how do we play it? Flow is trash. Flow is awful. Flow is saying that we all going to be dead some more. Spender's charts say, because we broke a lot of structure, entirely possible, keyword being possible, we all going to be dead some more. And if you're looking for, hey, it's all rosy and clean and nice and oh, we're going to have a nice rally and blah, blah, blah. It's like, until things change, they will remain the same. And remember that. Until things change, they will remain the same. And right now, we have an environment that is caustic. We have an environment that is impacting the American people in a very negative way. And we have a Fed that is neither supportive of helping, nor do we have any politicians in DC that are willing to do what it takes in order to help. Now we can talk about the market and be like, oh, it's the market. It's like, Market is one thing. There's people out there getting their asses beat that have never bought a stock in their life. Let's keep everything in perspective as we're working through the day. Everything in perspective. So with that being said, I don't have anything else. We don't have Mr. Stockington today. He's, I think he partied like a rock star last night. The only flow really worth mentioning was that meta flow to the upside. Everything else was bearish. Financials were extraordinarily bearish. Also, IWM bearish, SPY bearish. Everything that came through in the last after close, as far as the indexes, bearish, and even front running the Fed, that flow on XLF was bearish. What we're watching for today, we're watching to see where the VIX wants to middle out. We're going to see how much the dollar actually takes a hit off of some pretty piss poor data. This is consecutive piss poor data prints, and it is a fairly new concept to raise rates in a shitty data environment, but we're going to give it a shot. Those are the things we need to watch out for. We saw a little bit of activity in the semis. Let's see if they come back and try to play scoop. We know that the retail sector, as far as the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Best Buys, all those, that their inventory is stacking, and that's not necessarily a good thing. There's just a lot of things out there that are not a good thing. So let's make the best of it. That being said, that's all I have. Bender, do you have anything else for the people?
I do not.
So yeah, let's buckle up. We have 18 minutes or so. I'm gonna go make breakfast. I may or may not back for the exact opening, but I will be back soon enough. See y'all soon.
Sure.
I could put ice in it if you'd rather.
Huh?
Do you want me to put ice in it?
Yeah.